Welcome to Center for Spiritual Living Ocala. I am Reverend Cindy Grimes, and I'm so glad that you are joining us today. If this is your first time with us, I'm going to tell you just a little bit about who we are. These are our values at the Center for Spiritual Living Ocala. We value spiritual growth and practice, love, appreciation, community, freedom, creativity, health and wholeness, generosity, and financial well-being. Our mission is to provide spiritual tools and practices for personal and global transformation. Our purpose is to awaken humanity to its spiritual magnificence, and our vision is a world that works for everyone. Now, that mission, purpose, and vision is part of the mission, purpose, and vision of the larger organization of Centers for Spiritual Living. We are just one of over 400 centers that are found across the United States and the rest of the world. And this is what we are about. So I'm really excited for this afternoon. We're going to do something a little bit different than what we had been doing. But before I do that, I'm getting all excited and getting ahead of myself. I'm going to bring in our practitioners, Donna Davis and Norma Anderson. Hello, ladies.
Hi, everybody.
How are you doing?
We're doing awesome.
Looking lovely as always.
Thank you.
So, you know, we like to do everything with a little prayer before we start. And so I'm going to let you ladies go ahead, and I'll take myself out of here, and you just go ahead and lead us in a little invocation.
Welcome, welcome. And I invite you now to center yourself into the space that your physical body is in. Whether you're sitting or laying or leaning or anything of the above, just allow your body to just breathe naturally and allow for that peace to come over your being. I recognize right now the allness, one self-evident cause that moves in and around all things. This one is intelligent, it is conscious, it is alive with divine love and energy. I call this wonderful being God. And I know that God is everywhere present. It is in the song of the birds and the mightiness of the mountains and the swiftness of the ocean. This one being exists in all things, in all times, all space. There's also the spaces in between all things. And so because it exists everywhere, I know that it exists in the spot that I am sitting because I am in unshakable holy ground. It also exists in my very physical being. I know that because that is true for me, it is true for everyone else. It's from this space of awareness and oneness with divine that I know that fear dissipates. Joy takes its place, and we relax into the arms of grace. It is that unconditional love of the divine that I refer to as grace. It is in this moment that I am grateful for that grace. I'm grateful for always being held up by spirit, for the tides coming and going, for the sun rising and setting every single day we are provided for. And I know that I am standing on the spot where God shows up every single day. And because that is true, then anything that comes into my existence or experience in my humanity that is fearful, I go back to that space of grace, knowing that grace is the truth of being. It is with joy and untold gratitude that I release all my thoughts and words into the law, because the law is the unconditional love of the divine flowing and ebbing for each and every one of us. And so it is.
And so it is.
And so it is. Gosh, you just always drop me right into that perfect and beautiful space. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank
Love you. Love you. So I'll take you out for just a minute here, and then I'm going to bring everybody else back in. Hang on right here. So I want to tell you all what we're doing today. The topic for the month from Centers for Spiritual Living is facing your fear. And so I thought we'd take that topic and put a new little twist on it. What I've done is invite the leadership of Center for Spiritual Living Ocala to have this discussion with me today. I'm the face of the center, and I know people associate me with the center, but we are a spiritual community. There are lots of people that are part of this, and there are people who've given over the years of their time, of their talents, of their treasures to keep this center going and to be able to share this teaching as far and as wide as we can. And so the people that will be joining us this afternoon are our current board members. They all give so much to this center, again, of their time, their talent, their treasure. These are the people that really are believing in the mission and the vision of what we're about. And so I am personally so very grateful, and I extend my thanks to each and every one of them on behalf of the community. And so I'm going to bring them in, and they will introduce themselves, and then we'll just go through a couple of circles of questions so you can get to know them. And we will be talking on that topic of fear and how they are using the spiritual practices and tools that they've learned through CSL and on their spiritual journeys to get through the times that we're in, the craziness and a lot of the fear that we're dealing with. So let me bring folks on in. Ta-da! Hello. So great to see you all. So who wants to start? I'm going to let you all decide who goes first and just kind of introduce yourselves. Hello.
First, we can go first. And
Go ahead.
my name is Donna Davis. I also have the last name Andervis, which is a merging of myself and my wife's name. And I am a registered nurse and practitioner at the Center for Spiritual Living. And we just hold consciousness for individuals. So if you ever have a situation that you just need a little bit of clarity and a way to connect, to the allness and to spirit, then, you speak to a practitioner. And we have a lot of practitioners throughout the entire world. So wherever you are, you can always plug in to somebody that will hold you grounded. And I'm also the program director here and assistant to Cindy, the minister.
I am Norma Anderson, the other practitioner here at the center. I'm also the treasurer. I kind of help Cindy with the management of, or direction of, we don't really manage the funds, but they kind of manage themselves, I think. Spirit kind of guides that process. But I enjoy serving the board in any way possible.
Yes. Would you tell folks what practitioners are for people who've never heard that term or might be new to Centers for Spiritual Living?
Okay, so a practitioner is someone who really recognizes and connects to the allness and can hold it in their consciousness for themselves and can thus hold it in the consciousness for others. So sometimes when you're in the middle, I don't know if you've ever heard the term can't see the forest for the trees. Sometimes you're in the middle of it. And so when you're in the middle of it, it's hard to see your connection, especially when you're being challenged. It's hard to see your connection as divine energy. And so we hold that for you and help to show you the picture so that you can connect back to the truth. And that's what a practitioner is. And it takes years to get there. There's about 2 years, 2 years of regular classes, and then another additional 2 years of practitioner 1 and 2. And then you become a practitioner, and then an additional 3 years to become a minister. So Cindy is master's level. She has a master's in consciousness studies, and I'm looking to be there someday. So
We're prayer partners.
we're prayer partners. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And ministry took me 4 years. I took the more scenic route. Thank you, ladies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Did you want to add something else, Donna?
No.
Okay, great. So who's next?
I'll go. I'm Kim Seaman, and I am a member and a board member in my second year, and I kind of oversee the welcome committee when we're meeting at the church and trying to let other people guide them and how to maneuver through the building and let them feel at home and let them know that there's a place there for them.
Thanks, Kim.
Well, I am Rich, and I do have a last name, which is Jensen. And I am the board president. I head up the tech team. I do social media stuff and whatever else needs to be done. I'm a jack of all trades and master of some.
Yes, he sure is. If you're on our Facebook page and you enjoy those memes and quotes and all of the things that you're seeing every day, all of that comes from Richard. So he's yes. Thank you, Richard. That leaves Corinne.
Yes. Hi, I am Corinne Dean. I am the secretary on the board, as well as the leader of the marketing circle. So yes, so Rich is, we're part of the same team really with the marketing. So the newsletters that you receive via email, that's one thing I do, and anything else that needs to be done. So I've been a member at the center for, it's a good question. Maybe about 5 years now? I don't even know. I've lost track of time.
Wow.
But that is my role. So member and board member.
Thank you. Can we, so maybe just go around in the same order so we don't have to wonder who's going next, but can you let people know how you found the center, maybe?
Are you asking me?
Yeah,
I'll
well,
go
let's go around again and maybe go in the same order. That'll make it easier. So unless you want to jump in at some point. Something so.
So I went to the center, 12 years ago? 12 years ago, somewhere along there, because my mom likes to drum, and there was a drum circle, and I found it through Natural Awakenings. And when I got there, I thought I was just really kind of weird because I like a little bit of all the different religions. I thought, I practice paganism, I meditate, I do some Buddhist practices. I really connect to the Pentecostal side I grew up with. And so I just thought I was weird. And then I showed up and I was like, wow, I can, be okay with all of it. I don't have to pick anything. And that was really mind blowing for me. I have never been anywhere spiritually or religious that did not have a dogma that, kind of shoved, said, you have to be this. It was always about research and how do you connect and celebrating that. And so I was just so grateful, and I've been going ever since.
And the center's never been the same.
Nope. Hurricane. That's what it was called. It was like a hurricane and scooped everything up. So, but yeah, I came at the same drumming circle, and she came to the next service. I didn't. I had to work, and I came probably the next week, and I kind of had my eye on everybody, because I look for integrity in everything that I do, and I found it there.
Yes.
And I noticed too that everybody that was there at the time, we had a lot of older people in the congregation. Many have, made their transition since we started, but I mean, they didn't look anything like their age. And the yoga instructor was like 72 years old. And I thought, whatever these people have, I need it. And so then we had that discussion. We're like, we are going to look like that. And there's no denying it. There was something in the water, and we just had to drink. So.
For real. You guys, you look awesome. 12 years. Good gosh.
Yeah.
And you look, I think you've been drinking the water.
I think so too, because we were looking at pictures of ourselves 10 years ago, and we definitely
look younger
now.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I might have been looking at those same pictures. Thank you. Go ahead, Kim.
I found the center through a friend who had been going there, and she kept mentioning it for a while, and it just wasn't really fitting in my schedule. And I was personally working on my spirituality and trying to find, mind-like people and trying to create my tribe. So it was New Year's, and she said that you would do the releasing ceremony. I showed up for that, and it was a feeling and the energy that I got when I walked into the center that, kind of just drew me to continue to come back and to continue to see more. And really helped me in I guess it's a little over 3 years I've been going there to help me to kind of step out of myself a little bit more. I tend to always take a little bit of a backseat in things and not risk as much. So it's helped me to and step out and create more. And I'm inspired by going there, and I believe I also help and inspire others.
Yeah, you certainly do.
Circle of creating that tribe that I think so many of us struggle with.
Yeah, you've definitely been that inspiration for a lot of people. And love that you brought your family too. Your grandsons and your daughters, and it just keeps
I try
on.
to get them.
Yeah.
I am missing being there in person. It's a lot harder doing it this way.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why it's nice to at least see you all this way. Thank goodness we're not like in the 1918, pandemic where people didn't have anything like this. So, yeah. Thanks, Kim.
Well, my spiritual quest started about 38 years ago after having been out of any kind of church or spirituality. I started searching and I went to all the different flavors of churches. I tried the Methodists and the Lutherans and the Catholics and the Baptists, and I finally ended up at a Unity church, and which I like very much. And I stayed with it for a few years. But it was about a 40-minute drive from my house. This is in Chicago area. And they decided to move further north, farther away. And it was getting to be too much of a drive. So I started to open our own center, Unity Center in Elmhurst, a suburb of Chicago. Tried that for a couple of years, and it wasn't working out very well. There's a publication called Meta Monthly in the Chicago area that listed all the new thought churches, and there's one called Religious Science. And the name kind of scared me, but eventually I decided I'd give it a try. And when I went, I knew I was home. Later, the name changed from that to the DuPage Center of Religious Science, and then to the Center for Spiritual Living, DuPage. And then I retired, moved down to Florida about 5 years ago, and I knew right where to go. And I definitely felt right at home as soon as I came in the doors.
You are at home. Thank you, Richard. So glad that you made the journey and found us. I don't know what we'd be doing without Richard. Really, he set us up from the beginning with all of the cameras and the tech stuff, and it's just been awesome.
I had intended when I came to stay in the background, kind of on the low, because I had been real active in the other center and I wanted a break. But I need to be in service. It's just part of my nature.
Yeah, yeah. And that's something that all of us have in common. I think it's part of what brought this group together. So I thank you. And Corinne.
Okay, well, how did I come to CSL? I was raised in a Christian tradition that, while it has a lot of strengths, it also has a lot of rules. And many of the rules I seem to break a lot. And I knew there was nothing wrong with me. I knew I wasn't doing anything wrong. I felt like I was being true to myself, but yet I wasn't being true to the tradition. And so, well, I wasn't going to go anywhere, so the tradition had to go. So I wanted to find something that, something spiritual that was different from the basic churches around the area. And so what did I do? I Googled it. I can't remember what my Google search was, but the first thing to pop up was Oak Brook. At the time, we were called Oak Brook. And I thought, wow, such a place exists that has what I thought to be spiritual freedom. So it took me a while to be brave enough to go. And so I showed up one time, just kind of snuck in, and really loved the energy. I think it was Kim. I think you said that the energy when you walked in, you could just really feel that energy, that openness, that welcoming, that I could actually be me at this place. And it took a while because I am married and my husband was not interested in trying something, an alternative type of church. So I held it on the back burner, but I always had Oak Brook, now CSL Ocala, in the back of my mind. And I joined a group called Toastmasters. And who was the president of the first Toastmaster group I joined but Cindy Grimes? So that really, everything really started to fall into place. And I finally just was able to express myself openly, told my husband, I'm going to go to this new church, this new center, and you can join me if you want. And it took a while, but we're making that transition. It's definitely, I'm going to be honest, it's not easy because you have families that are still very well rooted in the traditions we both came from. But I tell you what, that tension, if you want to call it that, has caused me to expand my spiritual growth exponentially. And it has been a beautiful thing, this freedom that I have now, this spiritual freedom. And it's been a beautiful journey. So.
Wow. Thank you, Corinne.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I don't think I remembered the series of events coming together that brought you into the center. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, we also have a Toastmasters group at the center for people who are interested in doing that, which is still meeting virtually, but we'll probably be meeting at the center, hopefully sometime soon. So that's awesome. So I wanted people to get some different perspectives, because again, the topic is fear. And there's so much going on right now, in our country. Mm-hmm. Fires and pandemic and this election coming up. And there's just, all of this stuff bubbling up for people. The themes are decided a year in advance or more. A group sits down and they say, what are we going to talk about this month and this month? And it shouldn't amaze me, but it always does, the divine perfection of the conversations that we're having and what's going on in the world at this time. Like in 1919, who had any idea that we were going to be in this situation? There was no way to know that in September of 2020, we would be in the midst of this pandemic and all this other craziness. So anyway, I just wanted to, if you all could just kind of give people maybe a snapshot of maybe how you would have handled things before, and how different things are for you now that you have some new understanding and some different spiritual practices and tools under your belt to deal with whatever is coming up for you, in your world. And I know I had COVID, that I definitely used all of my spiritual practices and tools to deal with that. And Donna and Norma were in New York. And so everybody had their things going. And I just thought it would be kind of cool for people to hear how you all are handling things. job.
So in starting the round robin again, before I met Norma, I used to be, I was diagnosed clinical depression and anxiety and was on many, many medications and had been hospitalized before for it. The anxiety is so bad that driving is an issue for me. I don't like to drive. We joke about it that, you know, there are those who drive and those who are driven. But, you know, honestly, so irritating that sometimes I couldn't leave the bed. Like I still struggle with this. Just leaving my bed in the morning is a struggle. You know, and again, I joke about it. It takes an act of Congress every time. And so before I would allow that fear to just jump into me and spiral me into this horrific, like, you know, the sky is falling, I'm dying, that sort of thing, just really bad. And now I am very glad to say that I have not been on medication for, oh gosh, over almost, 10 years. And getting to have the spiritual connection that I have at the center and learning the tools of meditation and treatment, that tool of treatment, that dropping into the allness and saying, wait a minute, I'm part of the oneness and I am expressing as the one in physical form. Once I got very clear in my mind about how that works, that's my main go-to now. Sometimes it's hard for me to get there because I just can't get my brain to wrap around it. So that's when I call my mentors and they hold that space for me. And we all, you know, have mentors and mentor others. That when I was in New York in the middle of the pandemic at Elmhurst Hospital on the floor where everything seemed to be crashing and coding around me, I had to be very clear that all of it, and it's not easy to say, but all of it is God expressing. And when I was like, whoa, why is God expressing like this? What is this? And I had to say, wait, I might not know why, but I believe that 2020, I asked for it. Most of us said, you know, 2020 is that year of vision, being able to see clearly, blah, blah, blah. Then we started to realize that there was so much within our earth and our planet and our people that was in pain that we were just covering up with stuff, you know, earthly stuff that we gathered. Look at my house, look at my car, look at my job, look at me. And now suddenly it's coming forward for us to see it. And I said, that is the 2020 vision. That is what we're holding. And so while I was walking, I was holding the power and presence of the one with me all the time, and then teaching others how to connect to that instead of falling into that fear and going down that rabbit hole. Because it's so easy to do. Automatically we do it because we're taught, we're trained to do it. But instead of turning our brains and our minds and saying, wait a minute, in order for there to be beauty, there needs a construction phase. There needs to be that breaking down of old ways that don't work anymore. And something needed to shift. And that is what I felt needed to happen. And every time I see something else that's fear-based, like the fires that are happening, they're trees that won't be fertilized until there's fire. You know, so there's something that's shifting on a planetary level. And I really feel that we need it in order for us to wake up consciously as a planet. And I think that that's what's happening. And I want to connect to that always. That's my
Well, for me, before finding CSL, those that knew me, and I would not realize this about myself, but people would tend to be afraid of me. Intimidated, I guess. And I don't know why. I'm only 5'2". A lot. But when I did speak, I spoke a lot, sometimes maybe out of maybe anger. And, you know, about things that were happening or, you know, situations or people or what have you. And a lot of it came from judgment. And once I started coming to the center, and it helps you peel away all the things that you don't even may realize about yourself. And it helped me to gave me the tools actually to use to center myself more, think before I speak, give up a lot of things to prayer that's not mine, and helped me to, I guess, become a less fearful person. I've never seen that. I don't know what that means, but I've heard that people were intimidated by me. But I hope that's not so much anymore.
I have so many stories. I got to be quiet.
Having strength about her that comes off as a little bit intimidating. And I know Kim has that same thing. There's a strength there that just
Mhm.
says, don't even try it, And I think that that's probably what they were intimidated by. I
Yeah,
celebrate it personally.
yeah. There's a no nonsense
Yeah.
era about Norma.
Mhm.
She tells it like it is. That's why Norma has shown up for me in my meditations as the face of God. Like, you just get it together. Oh, goodness. We could go on for hours, You're up, Kim.
Okay, and Norma, it's because we're real, is why. That's what I have determined that to be. But I wasn't always that way. I always, prior to my spiritual journey, coming to find myself, I would have been somebody in this type of area that I would have put myself into a bubble and looked for somebody else and not feel that I had any strength or courage or anything or any resolve or idea of how to handle anything. But through working in my spiritual journey, I've learned to realize that the only thing that stops me is fear. And if I can remove that, I am capable of doing anything. Because then I've learned that I've become that I can, as Donna talked about, I can reach out to my supports and they can help me. When this whole thing started, I was like, I went into being a teacher for my grandson, as things started to close down. But I think the gifts that have really helped me to learn here comes up is always being self-searching and looking for what I can do to better myself. For example, looking for the center and finding the center and taking the courses at the center. I don't necessarily the way that I learned them, but apply the steps that we used in our foundations class. I use those tools of prayer and meditation and knowing that I only have right now. And what is it that Source wants from me? What is my job? What is my piece of it? And what is it that I have to do? And I look to, one of the things that I missed prior to that, taking care of myself. If I do my self-care by, staying connected with people one way or another, or trying to keep it in the moment, what I can do now, and feeding myself spiritually and taking time for prayer and meditate, even if it's only for 1 minute, even if it's to just go into the bathroom and say, I'm beginning to feel overwhelmed. What is it that I can do? And that's led me to be doing those practices that I've learned at CSL, in especially, like I said, in that foundations class and all those other things in giving and releasing the stuff that I don't need anymore. I can change belief systems. And I can let go of those things that to block me, or the things even material-wise. I think Donna talked about those things that we gather. If I have this, I feel better. I made sure I was physically moving. I would get up early in the morning and go out and walk. Because I was used to going to the gym 5 days a week. So I would go out in the morning. I take my grandson with me, and I taught him how to ride a bicycle. Like Corinne said about being the rule breaker. Our trails were closed. I went on them anyway because they were wider than the sidewalks. I could stay further apart. So, and it's also the being mindfulness, I think, that helps. Not only to myself and making sure the self-care, but being mindful of other people and what their concerns are. Not everybody might have the tools. And it's that being of service and being mindful to others and to myself and trying to help others. Because if I make that energy that I felt so wonderful at CSL, and I carry that with me where I go, the more other people can get that and realize that it's okay. And sometimes, I have those little statements that come up in my head, that'll talk to me and say, well, what other people think, or, and how I'm choosing to handle it. I just remind myself. And, keep going forward and staying connected with Source. Biggest thing got me. It didn't bring me this far to drop me.
Right.
You know? So Spirit's got me all the time, just because it doesn't look like the way I think it should look. And I deal with what's to deal with. What can I do now to make it different? I might feel this way, acknowledge how I feel, but how can I live and it be different with people? So I might feel afraid, I might feel, inadequate, or I might feel unsure, but what can I do that's going to continue when I allow it to paralyze me and stop? That halts that. So it's about keeping moving.
Nice. Yeah. I don't know if other people are having problems with the sound. There's a little like reverberation behind it, but
Oh, sorry, we have a turtle tank.
I
Can't do anything about that one.
you all are brilliant. I'm like jotting down, the tips and things like that, and it's all the things and more than what I would have said in a sermon. So you guys rock. Thanks, Kim. Rich, you're on mute. Hang on a second, you're on mute.
CSL and Unity and all that.
You're off mute now. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, I
I
muted.
didn't. All right. I'll start over. Before CSL and Unity and all that, I had a different higher power called alcohol. It was the magic elixir that fixed everything, my fears and everything. However, over the years, it turned on me and it began to amplify my fears. And I got to where those fears were so horrific and frightening that I just would get paralyzed at times and didn't know what to do except drink more. And when I finally reached that point of helplessness and hopelessness and despair, I finally just said the first honest prayer from my heart, God, please help me. And I was, through the grace of God, given a chance through AA and a spiritual program. I recovered. And that's what started my spiritual quest 38 years ago. Having been in this teaching and taking classes, learning all the different tools that I can use, learning to pray, to do treatment work, to meditate, to read different spiritual literature. And I always go back to Living the Science of Mind is one that I frequently read. But my life has definitely changed. I no longer need a crutch to deal with fear. Not that I don't have fears anymore, because I do. Just not too long ago, there was a time when I was trying to play a video on here when you were ill. And everybody said I look calm, but I wasn't. And, Reverend Ed and George stepped in to save the day. That was, CSL at work in my life. And probably maybe a more miraculous kind of one might be a few years ago. I was sitting at the computer and all of a sudden the right side of my sight disappeared. I couldn't see anything totally on the right side. It was totally gone, both eyes, and that frightened me. And as Lucy was driving me to Ocala to the hospital, I had a moment of clarity and I called Cindy to do some treatment work, and I started doing my own treatment work and affirmations, and found out later, once in the hospital, they did the MRIs and all that, I'd had a little stroke. And another miracle in that was Cindy came over and then brought me a Wendy's salad to eat because I was hungry. But by the next morning, my eyesight had cleared back up to only where there's a small blind spot that's not really a problem. So, yeah, that's how treatment and this practice can work in my life.
Thank you. I remember that. That was a pretty good while ago, and
I don't forget it.
it was scary. I didn't forget it. It was scary for me too. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Richard.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
All right. Is it my turn?
Mm-hmm.
Richard, thank you for sharing that. Before CSL, before my newly found spiritual freedom, I spoke of the tradition that I was in. And one thing in that tradition is that it was very much based in fear, and a big part of that fear was judgment. And it wasn't just judgment from the people around me, but judgment from God himself. There was a very judging and vengeful God, and so by leaving that tradition behind and stepping into this new spirituality, it wasn't necessarily a particular practice as much as the permission for me to let God out of the box. And once I let God out of the box, then it's like I let my soul out of the box as well. And fear just dissipated because there was, I developed how would I say, like a stronger understanding, a stronger, more broader view of the universe, that things do not happen according to our plan, and what may look like something gone wrong could actually very much be something gone right, and we just don't see it right away. So that I'd say that is the key for me, is to be able to so by escaping the judgment of others, I also escape the judgment of myself, judging myself. And by doing that and knowing that I had the freedom to navigate this world in direct connection with God, rather than having the middleman, once I cut out the middleman, I can't even explain. I'm having a hard time articulating how that dissipated the fear in my life. And I see more of the beauty and the oneness that Donna was expressing has made this, just made me a much more compassionate, understanding, loving person. And by all those things happening, the fear is, while it creeps in, I'm not going to lie, it definitely will creep in. I also know that I can trust God completely and know that, she has my back. And it just gives me such a sense of security, this this newfound spirituality. So and of course there are certain practices, the practices of meditation and being in community with other people plays a big role in that. So that's my experience.
Wow. Thank you, everybody. I'll turn mics back on for a little bit. Like I said, we could have talked for hours probably on any topic, but I'm just so grateful for each and every one of you. Again, sharing yourselves and sharing your story, and for all that you do for the center. I think maybe people out there now have a greater appreciation for who you are, and know that it's not just me. The Center for Spiritual Living is a community that lifts me as well. Yeah, I didn't share any of my stuff, but I'm going to wrap it up by saying all the things that I heard of practices and things for people to do in this time of fear. And if I miss anything, just let me know at the end. Go ahead, Donna.
Just one thing I want to touch on is that the fear is still so very much a part of everyday life. And it's still very debilitating, especially for those of us who struggle with mental illness. It's still there. The difference is now you have tools to combat it. And if you can't even use your own tools, you know where to reach out and where to find like meditation practices, groups on Facebook, memes, movies, whatever, because you know, oh, this is what I need that talks me down from this so I don't fall down that rabbit hole. And that's the biggest thing. It's like knowing where to plug in. And the internet's so wonderful that everything's available to you. So just turn away from that other stuff that's triggering you and turn into something else, because it changes everything, and then you start to see the beauty in life.
Yeah. Thanks, Donna. I'm so glad you didn't say like, just ignore the fear or whatever, because that's just not practical. And sometimes we in New Thought, these kind of traditions have this reputation for spiritual bypass. And let's just, deny the experience. Let's not look at it. But the way through it is really to go through it, Don't hang out, don't linger, but just feel what's there and acknowledge what's there and move on through the other side using the tools. And some of what you said, like knowing what's yours to do and what's not, right? The serenity prayer, like this is in my, this is in my purview. This is for me to take care of. This is not, and I can't get worked up about what's not mine. So I heard that. I heard self-care. I heard lots about doing the practices, the meditation, the spiritual mind treatment, taking care of yourself physically, cultivating that direct connection with spirit, and having a bigger view of God, and of course knowing that spirit's always got your back, no matter how crazy things look, no matter how bleak, whatever is in front of you, that you just know that eventually that something really great is going to come out of it, and it's always for our highest and best. So see if there's anything else anybody wants to say. I'm unmuting you all, but it's not, I think you have to unmute yourselves actually. If anybody wants to say anything else.
That people can always reach out. So if you are ever in a position where you feel, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do next, and you don't know a practitioner or whatever, just reach out. Go on the Facebook, the Oakbrook Facebook chat. Oakbrook, oh my gosh, because you mentioned Oakbrook, the CSL Ocala on Messenger or Facebook, and just reach out. We actually have a Messenger group of those of us who just chatter with each other, because some people live alone and it just makes them feel like they're connected to something. Not everybody's into that kind of thing, but if you are and you want to connect with the spiritual center, even if you don't attend now, even if you live in a completely different state, it doesn't matter. We still talk and we still encourage and we still lift up each other, because at the end of the day, we're all in this thing together, all of us. None of us can step out of the universe. We're all here. So we might as well just connect, and and we can lay ourselves bare even more than we could before, because now we have this wonderful, internet that we can do it through, and people tend to be a lot more honest than, when you're one-on-one like this, and they can show you the face they want to show you.
Yeah. Thank you for mentioning that, Donna. Yeah. For people to reach out, we've got our practitioners, there's myself. Actually, somebody reached out to me from West Virginia.
Oh.
I worked with her sister 30 years ago, and they're watching us online and saying, "Hey, I need a resource for this and that." It was like, wow, what an amazing thing, right? To know that we're touching lives all over the place, really. Yeah.
And I just want to say, a lot of people who don't feel themselves as being religious or don't find an affinity for any particular religion, the center is a good place to find a place to help yourself grow. That is the main thing that I found when I came there. It's the place that really was about me and my path and what I wanted for myself. It wasn't about any particular dogma or belief system that anyone was trying to push down my throat. It was just a place for growth for myself personally. and it's a great place to plug in for that.
Yeah. And there are people who have come to our center who are atheists, that they don't believe in any higher being or power. And that's okay too. It's about the connection to each other and connection across the ethers and whatever, you know. And so even if you don't have a belief system in anything and you just believe that, you know, it's science and all of this is mumbo jumbo, we encourage people to dive in and research and connect to however you want to connect. And at the end of the day, we still love you and accept you just the way you are. You don't need to change any part of yourself because we're all on a journey. And as we're on our journey, there are going to be parts and pieces of you that you hold on to right now that you might say, oh, this no longer serves me, and you let go of it. But the fact is, we're all in the universe together. We're all a part of divine energy.
Yeah. I love you all so much. Thank you for joining us this morning, and looking at the time. So after this, for anybody that wants to join us, we do a Zoom session. Oh, let's see. I'm looking. Let me look at the comments here because there's things popping up. So there's Zoom session after this for anybody that wants to join. We're usually on, you know, maybe half hour, 45 minutes, and so we get to connect with the rest of the community and you know, prayer requests and things like that. So people might want to talk to you all about your journey and some of the things you shared. So I hope you guys can join us on Zoom. And I think that's it. Right? Anything else? I'm going to talk about events later, so bringing up International Peace Day, Corinne. But for now, I will say adieu, and we'll see you in a few minutes in Zoom.
Okay.
Great. All
What
right.
is that Zoom? What is that Zoom?
The Zoom.
Number.
Perhaps Richard, can you send that to Kim via text message, maybe? And again, let me look at the comments and see if there's anything else before you all go. Lots of thank yous. Mary Lou's on there, and Grady, and lots of folks there. Wow, getting church out of the box, getting God out of the box. Love that. Absolutely feel connected to you there in Ocala. That's why I join you weekly. Lovely. So nice. So, all right. See you guys later. Bye, y'all. Okay.
How do I
There you go. All right. So that was really fun. I want to do that again. I enjoyed that. I hope you all enjoyed it as well. So let's see what we've got now. It's time to share our gifts and tithes. So, Center for Spiritual Living Ocala, if you are not in our area, have never been here physically, we do have a building, and there's lots of things that happen here. Miraculous things happen here. We were out, 2 air conditioning systems went down, and we got them repaired. The first estimate was like $12,000, $12,000 to $16,000, and we got it taken care of for a fraction of that. So that is miraculous in itself. But we really appreciate your gifts and tithes. It's how we are able to deliver this message. And so, you know, if you want to receive money, then you give money. If you want friendship, then you be a friend. So I just invite you to share whatever gifts you have. And if not with the Center for Spiritual Living, then share it in the place where you feel spiritually fed, that place that is giving you the tools and the practices and whatever it is that you need so that you can get through life and live it the best that you can. And I hope that that place is Center for Spiritual Living Ocala. So let's see. To donate, we've made it like really easy for people to give. You can do what's called text to tithe, and what you do is text the phone number that's going across the screen, 352-320-5110, and you put in the amount of money that you want to donate to the center, and you text it, and it goes straight out of your bank account to ours, and it just makes it really easy. And so we appreciate any gifts that you want to share. If we get 100 people, you know, sharing $20 each, that's, you know, that goes a long way. So this is our affirmation, and you can say it to yourself, tack it up somewhere. It is the nature of life to give of itself. As it is the tree's nature to bear fruit and the flower's nature to bloom, it is my nature to share the gifts of my time, talent, and treasure. I participate in the divine flow of life, giving generously and receiving abundantly. I am blessed and I am a blessing. I am so very grateful. And so it is. All right. Oh, we have another thing we're going to do. I think I'll just stay right here. I want to share our affirmation for today. Now, this is a beautiful thing. We do affirmations every week. You can find affirmations in the Science of Mind magazine. And this one for this week is I surrender into the grace of the One, knowing I am divinely guided in all I do. Now, isn't that a nice thing to think about throughout the week? I surrender into the grace of the One, knowing I am divinely guided in all I do. All right, we also have some events going on. Let me bring up another one here. This Monday, that's tomorrow, is International Peace Day. And we will be commemorating that event with a meditation at 5:30, and then want to invite you to join us for visioning with Circle Up Center for Practical Peace Building. That is an outreach of the Center for Spiritual Living. Corinne and I are co-founders, along with another friend, Nira Colleen, and lots of folks from the community that are involved. And we will be visioning on peace for Monday evening. It's an interactive process. If you've not done it before, it's part meditation. It's just an opportunity for us to envision, to kind of grasp the possibility of what peace is and what that would look like and feel like in our experience, from the individual level on through to the larger world. And so that is Monday evening, and you can look on our Facebook page, also on the website. And our newsletter just came out as well, which Corinne mentioned. So we've got lots going on, and hope that some of you can join us at least for the International Day of Peace commemoration tomorrow. And so that pretty much rounds things out for us for today. Ask you to join me in this prayer for protection if you want to say it to yourself, and just kind of hold your hand to your heart. As I say these words, the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And so I just pray and affirm that each one of you have a wonderful week, that if there are those things that cause you fear and anxiety as you go through your week, that you think about some of the things you heard today. Get deeper into your spiritual practice, affirm and know that life is conspiring on your behalf. And before you know it, you'll be on the other side of that fear. So I hope you have a fabulous week. Do join us in Zoom if you can. And if not, we will gather again next week. Love you all. Take care.